Friends and colleagues, what are you passionate about? Passionate.
The Passion Show on CFRU 93.3 FM Guelph, Ontario. With Wizard.
I'm a water wizard, Harry.
With
Hello world, you are listening to The Passion Show with Wizard on CFRU 93.3 FM. It's a do-it-together radio show all about passions and the people who have them. My name is Wizard.
And my name is SOLVEIG.
Yay! Woo! SOLVEIG!
Thank you.
Yippee! Welcome to the show. What are you doing here? What are you doing in this studio? How do we know each other? What's your deal?
So we met at Chiro Underground, a reconciliation paddle back in July that honors the legacy of the Chiro Wampum between the Haudenosaunee and the Dutch settlers. And we spent 5 days together. I was there for 10 days. And
I was only there for a measly 5 days.
But that's what it's about. Be there, be present.
Exactly.
5 or 10 days. The most important thing is that you're there. And we got to know each other over these 5 days. And when you asked me if I wanted to talk about what I am passionate about, I was down immediately. So here I am in this fantastic studio.
Isn't it beautiful?
Fantastic vinyl collection. All these rooms with recording studios. It's amazing.
It reminds you of home. All the audio gear.
It does remind me of my job. Yeah, I'm an acoustic engineer by trade, and I work in hearing aid development during the day.
That's so cool. I remember I only discovered that about you after the two-row. I think Mark knew, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's amazing."
Yeah, I don't seem to talk about it at the Chiro a lot. It's something very different, right? When you go on the Chiro, there are lots of people who work in professions that are more social geared, I find, and I don't happen to talk about a lot the engineering work I'm involved in, but it's very exciting, yeah. Yeah,
it's cool. I love engineers, and people who make things and have big ideas and make things work. So that's sort of what engineering is, right?
Yes, yeah. We make hearing technology work.
That's so cool. One of my coworkers has a hearing aid. She will probably actually be the episode. She's going to be on this show shortly, probably next week or the week after from when this is airing. So I will tell her about you, and I can say, Jen, you can thank SOLVEIG for your hearing aid, kind of. Maybe you'll have contributed some technology that's in her ear holes.
Maybe if she's wearing one of the hearing aids that I or the company I work for put out there, then yeah,
then
most
almost
likely.
Definitely, I suppose. Wow, that is crazy. What a small world. I have a question for you. How does that stuff work?
Oh, the absorbent materials on the wall.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
In this studio, I think these are made of foam, and they basically absorb the sound that would otherwise bounce off the walls and reflect back, and then you would have some echo in here. So when you enter this room, what you can hear immediately is that your voice sounds a little bit different, a little bit duller, and that's because you do not have these reflections, or you have less of these reflections. The room we're in is not completely covered in these foam tiles, so we still have some echo, but it's significantly reduced compared to a normal living room, for example. And that results in a nicer sound quality when you're recording.
It's funny, when we were walking up to the studio, I pointed out that you can tell where CFRU is on the UC Center because there are no windows. But in this studio, there are 2 gigantic windows.
Yeah.
They're just into other rooms.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So actually, you have these windows in recording studios for various reasons. For once, they make you feel less claustrophobic because being in a small room without windows is scary for
People
many
don't want to be in just a random little closet.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Some recording studios are built in a way that you have the technicians on the outside, right? And you have the people who are recording inside, so you can communicate. You can see what the other person is doing. But you're totally right. These windows reflect back into the room, and you want to control how much reflective space you have. So it seems like in this room, that's a fairly big room, I'd say, for a recording studio. But it's still a small room. I wish people could see a picture. So
they can imagine. They can imagine a room about the size of like an SUV and a half, perhaps.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, and I would say a little bit less than a half is covered in these foam tiles, and then we have some pictures on the wall, and we have other items in the room that will reflect or spread the sound or absorb the sound. Carpet, chairs with fabric cover.
Yeah, that is true. I never really noticed that it's carpet. I guess that does do work as well.
Yeah, and a beautiful absorbent acoustic ceiling.
Yeah, look at that. Well, there you go. I just learned about the CFRU studio from my very own audio engineer friend. Isn't that amazing? This is so fun. I love that you're here to talk. Well, but you're not just here to talk about audio. You came in, you told me that you have a different passion, sort of a more heartfelt passion.
Yes, I'm very passionate about community and connections.
Community and connections. I am also very passionate about that. Do you want to tell these people about our beautiful community?
Absolutely. So, Wizard and I live in a neighborhood in Guelph. A
very special and beautiful neighborhood indeed.
Is, absolutely brimming with connection. And when I moved there, I had actually no idea where I was moving to, and that this neighborhood has that long history, and that people were really there for talking to you when you take a walk. Or actually, this neighborhood has its own festival.
Oh, yeah. Does it ever? A whole festival just for one neighborhood.
Exactly. So maybe some of our listeners have heard of Praise the Ward.
Oh, probably. A lot of our listeners are from the ward. A lot of our guests are from the ward.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So when I moved there, I think they were just about to put on the first iteration of Praise the Ward. And that's how I became involved into helping with the festival and meeting more neighbors. And I'm absolutely blown away by the community spirit that is there. You can literally walk the streets and talk to someone and learn about the history of the ward. And many neighbors are passionate about something.
Oh, yes.
Actually, you could probably put the whole ward in your studio.
I would like to at some point.
Everyone has amazing things that they do. There is this one neighbor, she's helping monarchs to hatch.
Like monarch butterflies?
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, her whole porch is filled with these little compartments where she helps the caterpillars and
that's
then
amazing.
Sets them free when they've turned the butterflies. And lots of musicians too. And you know lots of them.
Yeah, I've had some ward inhabitants on this very show. The main, the figurehead geniuses of Shebad.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course. And there are other, I've had other musicians from the ward on here too. I've had all kinds of ward geniuses on this show. I myself am a bit of a ward genius.
Absolutely.
No, I don't know if I'm a genius. You know what? I am a genius. So, do you know the origins of the word genius?
Not necessarily, no.
So the etymology of the word genius is that it comes directly from Latin. So it's a super duper old word. And genius originally meant in like Greek times, it was like the spirit of a person that is with you when you're born, and it sort of represents your like ability to create and your like willpower and human ability. So that's your genius spirit. And everyone has a genius. Everyone. And the birthdays that were celebrated, when you got your birthday celebrated in ancient Greece, it was a celebration of your genius. And it's only a sort of like more recent change in language that the word genius has sort of been sequestered off to the intelligentsia and like the greatest academics. You know, these days, if you ask people what a genius is, like what would you say? If I said name a genius, who would you say?
Oh, probably someone like Albert Einstein.
Dingo. Everyone says Albert Einstein. Like everyone I've ever asked that question, and it's because there's just this modern thing that it's like everyone can't be a genius. That's what we think now. I think maybe as a result of like the industrialization of higher education, or maybe just the Industrial Revolution in general.
That is such a good point. So
I'm a genius, you're a genius, we're all geniuses.
So genius is actually your superpower. I have a friend who always refers to people's superpowers. Mm-hmm. And she loves finding out what that superpower is, and it's very affirmative, or kind of like helps you to see that and to hone it. And
yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely love that.
So there you go. Now you can think about it that way too. Everyone's a genius. Everyone's got that spirit in them.
Yeah.
How do we get on this?
Oh, I talked about the neighbors. And
that's right. All of our neighbors are geniuses, and
the word neighborhood, and how they have all these different things that they do. And one of my neighbors is a genius in growing tomatoes.
Okay.
He has such a tiny yard, and he's harvesting so many tomatoes, and he makes salsa with them and all kinds of things, and he just gives them out left and right.
Whoa, that's
amazing. Yeah.
I've got a friend on Alice who is like a genius at growing the strangest cucumbers you've ever seen. He makes these cucumbers that are all like weird and curvy, and he's growing those in his backyard, and he gives them out too.
I love that.
Yeah, right?
I love that.
This is the house. Have you seen? There's a house on Alice with the garage door has this big circular, beautiful painting.
Yes.
You know the one?
Yeah, I think that's there since last year sometime.
Yeah.
It's pretty new. Yeah.
Yeah, I helped paint that.
No way.
Yeah, for real. And
that is so amazing.
And that was painted by a friend of mine named Mickey, who used to live in the ward until last year. They recently moved up to Thunder Bay, and guess what? Mickey was on the Passion Show.
I love that.
So you are connected now through the Passion Network, the Passion Show community, to that door. So
I love that. And that's the point. If you stop to talk to someone, there's a very high likelihood that you will find a connection of some sorts. And that's what I love. And there's a very inspiring TED Talk by Keo Stark, I believe.
Okay.
That's called Why You Should Talk to Strangers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, tell me about this.
And there are lots of reasons why you should talk to strangers. For one, what she says is that we're socialized into thinking strangers are a potential danger for us. But
I definitely grew up with that socialization, that whole don't talk to strangers thing. It's like a huge thing in my childhood.
Exactly. And especially for girls, for very obvious reasons. But if you look at it, most people that you see during your day do not have any harmful intentions. No. They're just a person, like you and me. And everyone needs to be seen and acknowledged. So if you start to acknowledge people, if you start to say hi, if you use a social conductor, she says babies and dogs are great conductors to
a social conductor. Oh, I love that. Such an engineer way to think about it.
Yeah, I took that from the TED Talk. I didn't make this up. Or if you make someone a compliment, a stranger, you see them, and maybe they're dressed very nicely. You can see they put a lot of effort into how they're dressed. Renaissance fairs are great for that. You can tell people you love the way they dressed, and it's always such a positive little thing to do. And everybody walks away from that short conversation very happily. And you don't need to put in a lot of effort, but you can create this short moment of connection, of we're sharing something. We're both humans. You can just enjoy your shared humanity. Yeah. And that's something that's so easy in the ward, because many people are really there for that. There's this one neighbor who often sits in front of his house at the corner of Huron and Alice. And he just loves to have a little chat when you walk by. It's so lovely.
I want to be that kind of neighbor one day. I never sit in front of my house. Maybe my house could use... My house is kind of funny. Can I talk about the history of my house a little?
Oh, yes, I'd love to hear that.
I just recently learned about the history of my house. I've never lived in like a historic house until this one. But I looked it up, and I'm just going to fully reveal my home address on the radio right now in public. Should I do that? Maybe that's not the best idea. Okay, I'll reveal the street that I live on. I live on Ontario Street. It's a street in the ward.
It's a long street, so I think
it's a long street, exactly. There are a lot of houses on Ontario Street. And Ontario Street, it's right in the center. It's the old part of our neighborhood. And it used to have a lot of businesses that were also homes. One of the houses on our street even famously has this old, super faded sign that says like butcher's shop. You've seen that one, yeah. And so I looked up my address on the computer, and I'm looking through all these resources, and it's not giving me anything. But then I find a PDF has been uploaded by Ward 1 Walking Tours. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
There's a walking tour of the ward, and they uploaded a bunch of their cool factoids and research and stuff. And there are probably on this PDF about a dozen houses, specific homes that are written about. How many houses do you think are in the ward? Like hundreds.
Yeah.
And my house was one of them, my specific house. And it turns out that my house was a old grocery store. It was built in 1884, which means that it is 150 years old or so.
Yeah, it was pretty much built 8 years after my house.
Oh, there we go. That's crazy. So, the people who were living in your house for 8 years were like, oh, excellent, a new grocery store.
Right. That's how
crazy.
It must have been, yeah.
And it stayed as a grocery store for, I think they said, 50 years. It stays as a grocery store. And then it becomes a shoe shining, or like a cobbler. It's not just shining, but like a shoe building place. And it's taken over by two of the first Jewish people to ever move to Guelph. This is in like 1947 or something. Or maybe earlier than I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember the day. I didn't anticipate telling this story on the radio, so I don't remember all the exact details. But it becomes a shoe shop, and they build an extension on the front of the house that goes right up to the sidewalk. Or what is the sidewalk now? It's probably just the edge of the road back then. And you can still see on my house where that extension was. It's like a big, obvious square on the front facade. And you can see in the ground where the old walls were. It's like cementy blocks. And they would have lived in the back. I live in the back of the house. Now, I guess if someone was really astute, they could walk down Ontario Street and figure out where I live. But it's fine. If they want to do that, they can go crazy. And they would have had their business in the front, and they would have lived in the back, and I live in the back. So I really like going home and looking around and thinking, like, what was happening here in the 1970s and the 1950s and the 1930s and the 1910s and the 1890s. Like, all kinds of different families, different stories. And now, me.
Yeah, I can totally relate. We were renovating a room in our house. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, people used whatever they had for insulation, right? So when you actually remove a bit of the drywall and you go in the space between the walls, you'll find all kinds of things, like old newspapers.
Oh, whoa, really?
Beer
bottles.
bottles.
My God, that's amazing.
And we found a piece of old, not paint, but the thing that goes on the wall.
Wallpaper.
Decoration. Yes, wallpaper. I'm born in Germany, by the way, for everyone who didn't know that. So I came to Canada 7 years ago, so English is not my native language. You probably figured it out by my accent already, but just so our listeners are...
Maybe someone's just tuning in right now. And now they get to hear this information.
Yeah. And
that's okay. I love figuring out what words you're talking about. The stuff that goes on the wall as decoration, wallpaper.
Yeah, I became a pretty good dictionary since I moved here, describing the word I was searching for. So that's a good skill I've been honing.
I just forget words a lot, so I have to do that too. Describing to people, I'm like, oh, it's this kind of thing. It's like a paper that goes on a wall.
Yeah.
Wallpaper.
And it was a beautiful piece of wallpaper. It was baby blue with white flowers with yellow dots in the middle. It was very, very cute. And I wonder what this room used to be, whether it was a nursery, but it's also one of the rooms that faces the front of the street. So I don't think I would use it as a nursery. But finding these old...
My mind went right to nursery when you described that.
Yeah, right? Like, it's a very nursery type of wallpaper. But also when you go into the basement and you look at the different types of wood, you can see what was the original part of the house. And then you see the younger wood pieces and you see, okay, this has been exchanged and this has been extended. And
oh, yeah. Basements are always such interesting, sort of freaky little history keepers. My house has a cellar right by where my door is, and I want to go down there so bad. It's locked up, but it's just like, let me in. I want to know.
Oh, that's tough, having a locked door in the house.
It's
definitely
annoying.
Tough.
Luckily, upstairs in my actual apartment, there are no locked doors. I think if there was a locked door, it would drive me insane.
Yeah.
When I moved to Guelph, I lived in a house that had, I think, 10 apartments in it. It was like a small house. It was on Paisley Street. It's just like the most ridiculously cramped student house imaginable. And I lived in the basement. And you open the door to my room, and then you have to walk down this weirdly long hallway, even like through my door, down a long hallway. Then there's my room. And then there is a closet. You open the closet. And there's a door in the back of the closet. You open the door. And then behind that door, there's yet another door, and that door was locked. And it was like upsettingly spooky.
Oh my goodness, that is spooky.
We used to joke that it was like a stairway directly down to hell.
Yeah, probably.
It's like that's what's in there.
No, you know what it made me think of?
What?
The moonshine production in the ward.
Wait, what?
Moonshine production.
Oh, moonshine. Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah, apparently it has been very active there during Prohibition. I think a historian...
Because the mafia took over the war.
Yeah, I think a historian could tell you more about this, but I've heard that, that neighborhood was very active. And
I've heard on Alice Street in particular, there are a lot of old tunnels.
I haven't heard about tunnels.
Yeah, there are tunnels between houses to move stuff back and forth.
There you go.
Supposedly.
Oh, wait, you said that was on Paisley Street, so that's not in the...
No, not Paisley, on Alice.
Oh, yeah, no, the wardrobe with the door that was locked?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a moonshine tunnel. Maybe it was just a different tunnel. Maybe they were doing stuff over there too. But
maybe.
Hopefully. They're probably moving stuff all over the place. Those moonshiners. Oh, that's so cool. There was in Saskatchewan, where I was born, there's a town called Moose Jaw that got taken over by Al Capone and all of his sort of gangsters in the 20s, and they called it the Chicago of the prairies. And they did all kinds of like boozing and moonshining and rum running and whatnot. And there were tunnels in the downtown of the city. It's probably a city of like 50,000 population, so pretty big, but not huge. Obviously pretty small compared to Ontario. But then they found that these tunnels like 100 years later. They're like, oh my gosh, there are tunnels under our downtown street for boozing. Anyway, it's a cool thing. People, community, people seek each other out even when it's illegal.
I agree. It's a form of connecting over a joint purpose.
Exactly. Even if that purpose is making illegal alcohol. People will come together. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. There's another TED Talk that talks about exactly that. I don't listen to TED Talks a lot, but there are a couple that really stood out to me over the years because they talk about building community and connection. And that is one by Johan. His name is Johan Hari.
Johan Hari.
And the name is This May Be Why You Are Depressed or Anxious, I think. Something along the lines of that. But if you Google for Johan Hari and TED Talk, you'll find it. And he talks about an alternative treatment for a form of depression where they send people to meet in a group, and everyone was diagnosed with depression or anxiety. Again, the talk is great. Listen to the talk. But in a nutshell, these people had the assignment to find something that they all were interested in and that they could unite over and then take action on. And they had a green space available to them, and they decided to build a garden. And what they did was that they first educated themselves. They went to the library and borrowed books and learned about how to build a garden. And then they got the tools and mapped it all out. And then they got seeds and they built a garden together. And they were meeting regularly. And if someone wasn't showing up, they would check on each other. So they built this community around the garden.
I like a community garden, just like we got in the ward.
Yes, we have this in the ward too. Absolutely. I think the core of this exercise was though that they would do this together, and they would all be there on
like a little club.
On certain days they would all get together, and that type of community was helping people to live with their diagnosis, to find joy again, because we're a very individual society. We're very much focused on what we do, and that's not how we're designed to function. We're supposed to function as a group. And when you come together as a group and have a joint purpose, a shared purpose, there is an energy that's created that is very invigorating.
And like associated with our evolutionary basis, like it's like a physical part of our reality. That's why I think about this a lot. I'm right there with you. It's like depression and anxiety are effects of disconnection, sort of, or a variety of things, obviously. But yeah, coming together, like having these kinds of purpose-built communities like we have had for, tens of thousands of years is part of our way of life and existing. It's like evidently important. And that's what I want. That's why we do what we do, right? That's part of a big reason why I try and maintain the passion network of guests and people in my life into sort of a loosely connected network of people. And it's kind of what the two-row is.
It absolutely is what the two-row is.
Yeah, kind of. Why would I say kind of? It's so absolutely what the two-row on the Grand is. What a brilliant thing they've done, maintaining those connections.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about two-row? I know you know more about two-row than I do. I was just, I'm open-heartedly discovering this community recently within the past 4 months, but you've been living it for a few years.
Yeah, for 2.5 actually. So that was my third paddle this year. But I moved from paddling to ground crewing, which is supporting the paddlers. And
a brilliant job you did.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was very demanding, but it's a privilege to be able to do that, and very heart-filling.
Well, you and belly filling for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Because you were helped with the food.
Right.
So you fill their bellies.
Yeah. So the two-row on a Grand, maybe I can say a few words about that.
Please do. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I'm sure, if I were a guessing man, which I absolutely am, I would just posit that this episode of this radio show is going to air in the cold, dark nights of November. And I would hazard a guess that on cold, dark nights like this, after I send out a message to the Two-Row Facebook group. I bet you that some of our friends are listening to us speak right now. And so they're going to be excited to hear you speak about Two-Row on the Grand.
Yeah. Yeah, so hi to any paddle family members who are listening, because that's what we become after being on that journey. And Ellie Joseph from Six Nations and Jay Bailey from Kitchener founded the Two-Row Underground after participating in the Two-Row reconciliation paddle on the Hudson River. Mm-hmm. And that paddle happened once, and I think
down in New York State.
2012. Yes, exactly.
That's right.
And in 2015...
Mm-hmm. It would be 2015 because this was the 10-year anniversary.
Exactly. That was a big anniversary this year. In 2015, Ali Joseph and Jay Bailey started the Two-Row Underground here, not knowing that it would actually turn into an annual paddle. But that's what it's become. And it's a journey where Indigenous and non-Indigenous allies paddle from Cambridge, Ontario to Port Maitland at Lake Erie.
Not an insignificant journey.
It is very long, yeah.
What, it's like 150 or so kilometers?
I think so.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's in that ballpark.
Yeah. And every night there will be teachings. Everyone's camping together along the river, and every night there will be a speaker, an Indigenous knowledge holder, for example, and everyone will learn about Haudenosaunee culture and language, traditions. We will learn about the history of the Haldimand Tract. That is the area that stretches 6 miles to both directions of the river. And that was supposed to be in Six Nations territory. But due to a number of circumstances that I'm not the right person to reiterate, but that's what we learn on the paddle, this is not the case anymore, right? The Six Nations reserve is that small spot south of Brantford. And paddling together on the Grand is an experience that I think pushes many people to their limits. It is demanding. It is
in multiple ways, mind, body, and spirit.
It's a long distance, but you have rapids there, and you have rainy days, and there's so much.
You have dark nights of the soul.
Yes, that too. And you can see how when you start out and people don't know each other yet, how they start to become that paddle family that we're in the end of that journey. And that's very beautiful to see the connections that people are making there. And here we're circling back to what I came here to talk about, connection and community. And we try to maintain that community after the paddle. So the paddle is in July. So it's when Southern Ontario it's I think most humid.
Oh yeah,
hottest.
Hot and bustling. It's a borderline tropical.
Yes, exactly.
And everything is in full bloom and the high energy and excitement.
Yes, exactly. And then we usually have a paddle family reunion in September when things start to cool down a little bit and come together to meet not just people that were on the paddle that particular year, but also from previous years.
That was a really cool thing. I didn't anticipate that until we went together. Me and SOLVEIG had a nice little experience of going to the reunion together. And that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? We got to practice this hour of talking twice, once on the way there and once on the way back.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was very helpful to become more comfortable about being part of a radio show.
Exactly. We basically just made a radio show for the windshield of my car.
Yeah, right.
And so that was really special. I really enjoyed that reunion and meeting people who hadn't paddled this year but had paddled in the past, or even who paddled on the first 5 days and not the last 5 days. What a special thing. I love how much work they put into maintaining the community. Because it's one thing to do a big fun event in July, and even for it to do in 1 year in 2015, but to like maintain over time and to keep people involved and in community is so special. And it's hard. It takes people who are willing and committed. And I'm inspired. Not only am I inspired, of course I'm inspired by the founders and organizers, but I'm inspired by everyone who makes it a point in their life to go out of their way to maintain connections at the 2 row and otherwise. And so 2 rowers, if you're listening to this, which I know you are, wizard@thepassionshow.ca. Hit me up, come on the show. I want everyone, I love all you people. Be on the radio, be on this radio show. Or not, I suppose it's up to you. If you're moved or inspired, don't be afraid to reach out. That's basically what I'm saying. And that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, if you want to know more about the Turo, you can visit their website, www.turounderground.com.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty amazingly long website. We've got a lot of resources on there.
Yes, and great YouTube talks as well to learn more about the paddle and the history.
Yeah, they are generous with their knowledge. It's a very generous system. Very generous people. I've been thinking a lot about generosity recently. I think it's very important for community to be open and willing to share.
Yeah.
So that's what I strive for.
That's a great summary, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I try my best. Now, tell me, I want to know about some other communities that you've been involved in. If we're talking about community and connection, we've talked about the ward. We've talked about 2 row on the Grand. You are an international person. You've called you've established your home in not 1, not 2, but 3 continents. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there another continent that you've established in that I didn't know about?
No. I pretty much limited myself to Europe, Asia, and North America.
Perhaps one day you'll become an Aussie, and in Australia. You can move to Perth. That's all I know about Australia.
Oh, that's far. And I heard they don't have snow.
No, none at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could deal with that.
No,
I really
you
like
love the
snow.
snow. Me too. But can you speak to that a little bit? I'm curious. And so are the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I was born in Germany and I grew up there. And then I moved first to Switzerland for work and then to Shanghai, also for work.
Isn't that amazing, my dear listeners? Shanghai, a modern city indeed.
It is a fascinating city, and I sometimes miss it, especially when I walk the streets here and I hear the cicadas singing.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were so noisy in Shanghai. They were
Really?
noisier than here even, and it's
I would
crazy
not
that's possible because they're so noisy here.
I did not know that there are cicadas in Shanghai.
Yes.
I would not have predicted that. Wow. See, this is why I asked. You're taking me on a virtual world tour right now.
I love that sound. And I do like or appreciate a lot of things other people don't like because they remind me of places where I was very happy and I have good memories. Also, for example, the smell of skunks is something that's, for me, very connected to Canada. And I never smelled a skunk before moving to Canada.
No way. So skunks are uniquely Canadian, eh?
North American, I
say. That's funny. Speaking of things that are uniquely Canadian. North American. Huh. I don't know that. I would have guessed that cicadas were more likely to be North American than skunks. Shows what I know about nature. I love the smell of skunks too, especially when it's like the faded smell.
Yes.
When it's like the really intense kind that you get on the road. That's not my favorite.
Yeah, no, I can't stand that too. But if it's not too much in your face, I think it's not
nice.
that disturbing.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, I'm in Canada. So I lived in Shanghai for 3.5 years, and my husband and I, who came with me, we always knew that would be temporary. Mm-hmm. We weren't really set on how long, and at some point we were like, okay, I think we're ready to to try something else. And I was offered a position here in Canada, and that's how we moved here.
And then bing, bang, boom. Straight to Guelph. Shanghai to Guelph.
Not Guelph directly, though. We first lived in Mississauga.
Oh, I didn't know that. Mississauga.
And we were there for just a year, and then we moved to Caledon, which is that rural area north of Brampton. And we lived on what used to be an old farm, and the owner had turned some of the buildings to apartments, and we rented one apartment there. And there was, on the other side of the road, there was a conservation area, and there were trees, and we actually couldn't see our neighbors to the left and right. So it was that kind of remote, and then COVID hit. And I tell you, it was the best place to be during these years.
Yeah.
But after 3 years, we also grew very lonely because we were able to make friends just before COVID hit. So we were able to see people. Good. But it was just so remote that I started to really feel that I was missing interactions. I was missing taking my dog for a walk and run into a neighbor. And then we started to think about where we would find that environment to be immersed in people, but not being in a large city. So
we want to go back to Mississauga.
No going back to Mississauga, and we couldn't imagine going to Toronto.
No, thank you for me. No, thank you.
That's how we found Guelph.
And then Guelph. You found yourself in the beautiful ward. And now we're right back to the ward.
Yes, exactly. It all circles back to the ward.
Everything always comes back to the ward.
Yeah, no, honestly, without exaggerating, I can say that after we moved to the ward, I started to really feel at home. I really felt comfortable with putting down my roots, which is hard when you move all over the place all the time. And I've never lived in the same place for more than 3 years. I think ever since I left home.
Wow.
And that was a lot of moving around. And I always would tell myself, if I didn't like it that much, I would tell myself, the next place will be better. You know, the grass is always greener elsewhere.
Yeah, it's easy to be like that. I struggle with that kind of thinking sometimes.
Exactly. And after we moved to the ward, I started to tell myself, okay, we're not going to move anytime soon. This is where I will put down my roots. And I feel incredibly grateful that somehow, like I said, we saw this house and it fit our needs, but I had no idea that it was in that kind of neighborhood. I know people that have been trying to move into the ward for years, and we just got into that house.
I feel similarly grateful that I just landed a awesome apartment. Like I did. I'm like, oh wow, what a touched little life this is.
Yeah. And now it's exactly how I hoped the place where I would live would be. I open my door, I walk my dog, I meet other dogs, I meet people at the other end of the leash of these dogs and have a chat and say hi to that neighbor who always sits in front of his house with his coffee in the morning, the nice mornings. And
if you time it right, you could even walk and see me. If I don't have a dog to walk, but you could.
I could, yeah. I think I usually take a route that doesn't necessarily lead me along your house. I should change that.
That's okay. You would never see me. I don't putz around outside, unfortunately. But to balance that out, we just have to have a backyard barbecue bash one of these days, like you were talking about.
That sounds great. You could also start building that habit that you were talking about, that you want to be that neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. I can set up a lawn chair out front, and then you should start coming by.
Absolutely.
Because I'll be in maybe I'll make like a hammock or something, or like one of those swingy bench chairs. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, they're great. Yes.
I love swinging. I'm a big swinging fan.
Yeah, me too. One of the first things we bought after moving to the house we're living now was actually a hammock.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. I lost my old hammock. I need a new hammock. Hammocks are so fun.
Yeah, they're great.
They're great. And
I was actually lying in that hammock when I learned about the Truro Underground.
Wow. And how did you find out about it?
I saw a link. I had Facebook back then.
Classic.
And I saw a post about Truro Underground. And I went on the website. I read through the website. I didn't know anybody who was part of the team or who would go on the paddle. I just told my husband, I have to do this.
Wow.
And signed up.
That's amazing. That's very spontaneous and cool. And the way I found out about it is that me and Mark from Shebad work at this Guelph Outdoor School, and Ellie is one of the board members and of Guelph Outdoor School because she's awesome. And
she is absolutely awesome. She's the best.
She's the best. And we ended up reaching out to her because we wanted to collaborate with Two-Row in some way, because we are so inspired. We knew about it from just working at Outdoor School, and we were inspired by it. We wanted to make something with them or do something or just in some way form a connection. And then, so our way in was sort of like, I kind of think easier because we were just sort of friends with her and with the organization before we even came. The whole year, this is kind of a funny little story that you might not know this. Me and Mark drove out to Chiefs U Park in 2024 at the end of the reunion on the Sunday, right after everyone had gone home.
Oh.
So there were still, so you had gone home, everyone who was there had gone home. It was just Ellie and Jay and a bunch of orange shirts and even the purple shirts and like leftover snacks and stuff. And we basically dreamed up the Paddle Stock Festival right there.
I love that.
Isn't that funny? And we just like sat and for like hours, it was the most beautiful fall day ever. And we sort of imagined like, okay, next year Shebad is going to come on this paddle and play a little, mess around with the guitar a little bit and play some songs and have this thing, and then the rest is history. Isn't that crazy?
That is so fun to learn, because I remember that last year around this time when we had the planning calls for the 10th anniversary, I remember that Ali started to talk about Shebad and she shared the music and
really, that's so funny.
I got really excited. I was like, wow.
That's right. Because we had done a couple of Zoom calls with them too.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. We were in the ward earlier that summer, because that was in the fall. In the summer, we were in the ward in their house Zooming with the whole Two-Row board. That's so funny that she was showing you guys some music. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Music is the answer. Music brings people together in a big way.
Yes.
It's just one of those things. What were you calling it before? A social
conductor.
Social conductor.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's so cool. And speaking of that TED Talk, that was from the Talk to Strangers TED Talk, right?
Why You Should Talk to Strangers by
Why You Should Talk to Strangers. One of the episodes of this show, The Passion Show, is called Talk to Strangers with Christian, who's a friend of mine from Outdoor School and from all kinds of things. And his whole episode is about the importance of talking to strangers. And I would bet you that he has seen that TED Talk.
Probably. I have to check that episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were talking earlier about how, it's kind of unfortunate when I started this show. Obviously, when I started the show, there was one episode, and then there's 2 and 3. And it used to be easy to recommend people listen to the whole thing, because it was just like a few, you could listen to it in a week. But now there are almost 60 episodes, more even, I think, which represents like, 2.5 full days of listening. So it would take you months to listen to the whole back catalog, which is cool, but sort of too bad. So I'll recommend to you, check out Talking to Strangers with Christian. It's a really quite a good, interesting episode.
Definitely, I will.
Yeah, he recites a pretty long and beautiful poem about talking to strangers on that episode. He's a poet. I should get him back on this show. And he might even move to the ward. She was thinking about it.
There we go.
There you go. The word connects us all. We've got 5 minutes left in this episode. I told you I'd give you a 5-minute warning. So if there's anything super important on your heart that you feel like you need to share, now would be the time.
Thanks for listening to everyone.
Absolutely.
And yeah, my name is Solveig. I live in the ward. I have a small black-white dog. If you see me walking the dog, please approach me.
A small black-white dog, glasses. You're like about 6 feet tall. That's about it. Yeah, Solveig, very approachable person. Do you wanna tell these people the story of how you and I sort of became aware of each other at Turo? Remember this little anecdote?
Give me a hint.
It was on like the third stop. I had volunteered to help with food.
Oh, the food.
Yeah. Do you remember
that was
this?
so funny. Yeah, I remember I actually shared that at the final sharing circle at
That's
Turo.
right. I
So
forgot
Wizard
about
and
that.
I were at the food station for the vegetarians, and we had sandwiches that day.
Oh yeah.
And it felt like hundreds of tiny little boxes.
Oh, just little
tins.
containers of like, oh, this is for the gluten-free, and this is gluten-free, but it's not lactose-free, and oh, this is vegan, and this is vegetarian, and this, but
Right.
it has peanuts in it, so this is the one that doesn't have peanuts.
Right.
And there's like a gazillion different little things.
And we had to collect the spoons and knives of all these containers and put them to the side, and then store all these containers, make sure we find the right lids for all of them, and clear this table. And it was an insane amount of containers, and we were so overwhelmed.
Just brain melting.
And I think you or me started to say, this is a lot, this is so overwhelming. And then the other person said, yes, this is a lot, and this is very overwhelming. And I started to feel really validated in my feeling of being overwhelmed. And then a third person, actually, who was doing the dishes, came to the table and looked at what we were looking at and said, yes, this is a lot. I wouldn't be able to handle that. That's why I'm doing the dishes. And the three of us looked at all these containers, and Wizard and I were still wearing the gloves, and you're only supposed to handle these containers when you're wearing gloves. So we were the two people who had to take this on. And then we decided to make a plan how we would go about this, which basically consisted of first checking out the cutlery and then finding the lids and first looking after the things that need refrigeration, I think. So we developed this plan, and step by step, we managed to walk through this massive amount of containers and felt like we had accomplished a lot that evening, which we had, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just this amazing feeling of, doing something together, not be left alone with an overwhelming task.
And we just took it step by step.
Exactly.
Just to do the first thing and then see what's left.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about. With those big, huge, crazy tasks.
Yeah. And I really loved how we were sharing that we felt so overwhelmed. But when you have two people who are overwhelmed, you can trust that this will create the necessary energy to tackle the task.
Exactly. And then the rest is history. I feel like we became fast friends as a result of that.
Yeah.
And then before you knew it, we were all jumping into the hugest, strangest pool you've ever seen. And now here we are at CFRU 93.3 FM.
I love it.
It's like magic how friendships can be born just by having to put away a bunch of strange containers.
Exactly. And talking to strangers.
Exactly. I went into that two-row adventure so I didn't realize this about myself, but I was like shut off against the idea of talking to strangers. Or at the very least, I was feeling very like insular and borderline insecure, and I just wanted to talk to my little she-bad friends. But I opened up. The river opened me up, and I had no idea how many friends I would make. But here we are, surrounded by connection. Partially thanks to you, and thanks to everyone else, but thanks to you. So,
thank you for inviting me. It has been a fantastic conversation.
I agree. Thank you so much for being on The Passion Show. Now, and for being my friend and for being awesome as well. Not just for being on the show. Thank you for everything. And I have a tradition. Since the very first episode of this show and until this one right here, we do this at the end of every Passion show. It's the sharing of gratitude. I will share my gratitude first. The reason for that is that way you get to share your gratitude second, and you get to finish the show. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. I am grateful for the clouds in the sky. I'm grateful for the wind, especially on a day like today. I'm grateful for strong, heavy winds on cool autumn days where it's sunny and cloudy and all the leaves are changing. I'm grateful for the leaves. Grateful for love in all its forms. Grateful for holding hands. Grateful for denim and jeans. People have been telling me recently that they don't like jeans, and to each their own, I suppose. But I'm grateful for jeans. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for wood and carving and art. I'm grateful for you. I'm complete. What are you grateful for?
I'm very grateful for my husband, wonderful person. And I'm grateful for all my friends and all my relations, really, for all the teachers I have, for everyone who shares their knowledge with me and their feelings and their vulnerability, for everyone who's encouraging to be vulnerable, for everyone who's creating space to share, to be yourself. And I'm very grateful to the bees that visit the flowers that I planted. And you mentioned the sun and the wind, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful right now outside. October is coming, and we have a harvest abundance.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also grateful for the technology that allows us to share what we're passionate for and what's in our hearts. And I am very grateful for your guidance through this ever first podcast I was a part of. Thank you.
Welcome to the radio. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and earnest and for being yourself. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. My name has been Wizard.
And my name is Solveig.
And please remember that only love will stop the killing.
Only love will stop the killing.
Seul l'amour arrêtera le meurtre.
Only love.
Тільки кохання зупинить вбивство.
Only love.
Only love.
Nur die Liebe wird das Töten beenden.
Only love will stop the killing.
Only love.
Μόνο η αγάπη θα σταματήσει τον πόνο.
Only love. Only love.